The breaking point. Ambassador Maya Chen stood before the Galactic Alliance Council, her face an expressionless mask as she listened to the final judgment. The vast chamber, with its soaring crystal dome revealing the distant stars beyond, had once filled her with awe. Now it felt cold, oppressive, a beautiful prison for humanity's potential. The Council's decision is unanimous and final, announced High Speaker Vorax, the ancient Trilaxian's voice resonating through the chamber. His 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of finality in his species. Humanity will cease all quantum entanglement research immediately. Additionally, all human colonies will submit to enhanced monitoring protocols, and Earth's fleet expansion will be halted at current levels. Maya didn't flinch, though the restrictions cut deeper than any before. For 30 years, humanity had endured the Alliance's increasingly suffocating limitations, always justified as precautionary measures or for galactic stability, always targeted primarily at humans. Around the horseshoe-shaped table sat the representatives of the 12 founding species of the Alliance. The Trilaxians with their 4 eyes and crystalline skin, the amorphous Jeanne in their containment fields, the insectoid Vrex, the aquatic Meriden, and others, all powerful, all ancient, all convinced of their superiority. None of them looked particularly troubled by what they had just done. The Council reminds Earth's government that these measures are temporary, added representative clocks of the Vrex hive, mandibles clicking. Once humanity demonstrates appropriate caution in technological development. How long will that be, Representative? Maya interrupted, her voice steady. Another decade. A century. We've complied with every restriction for 30 years, only to face new ones each time we adapt. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Interrupting a council member was considered deeply disrespectful. Ambassador Chen, High Speaker Vorax said, voice lowered in mourning. The Council's wisdom spans millennia. Humanity has been spacefaring for barely 2 centuries. Your species' rapid technological advancement presents genuine risks to galactic stability. Maya allowed herself a small smile. And yet you utilize our innovations readily enough. Interesting that human-developed technologies are dangerous until the Council decides they're useful. The John representative's containment field pulsed with irritation. Ambassador, the Council is not obligated to justify its decisions. The measures have been voted on and approved. Earth will comply, as per the terms of the Alliance Charter. Maya stood straighter, adjusting the collar of her formal diplomatic uniform. Actually, that brings me to Earth's response. She placed a small data crystal on the central podium. Its blue light pulsed gently, drawing all eyes in the chamber. What is this? Asked Vorax, leaning forward. Earth and all human colonies hereby withdraw from the Galactic Alliance, effective immediately, Maya announced, her voice echoing in the sudden silence. As per Section 87 of the Charter, we will evacuate all Alliance territories within 1 standard month. For several seconds, no one spoke. Then the chamber erupted in voices. Impossible, shouted the Meriden representative, water bubbling furiously in her respiration tank. A negotiating tactic, dismissed clocks of the Vrex. High Speaker Vorax raised his hands for silence. When the chamber quieted, he fixed all 4 eyes on Maya. Ambassador Chen, surely your government understands the implications. No species has ever withdrawn from the Alliance. You would lose all protection, all trading privileges, all access to shared technology. We understand perfectly, Maya replied. We also understand what we bring to the Alliance. Innovations your species would take centuries to develop independently. Scientific perspectives your hierarchical thinking doesn't allow for. A military fleet that has defended Alliance borders despite being constantly restricted. She looked around the chamber, meeting each representative's gaze. The data crystal contains our formal withdrawal notice, along with a complete inventory of human-developed technologies currently in use throughout Alliance space. As per the Technology Sovereignty Act that your Council passed 20 years ago, all proprietary human technology remains under Earth jurisdiction, and will be withdrawn with our departure. The John representative's containment field flashed dark red, an expression of alarm. You cannot seriously intend to remove critical infrastructure. We won't sabotage anything, Maya clarified. But maintenance of human-developed systems will cease. Support for human-designed software will end. And yes, proprietary technologies will return with us. This is extortion, hissed Clocks. Maya shook her head. No, Representative. This is consequence. For 3 decades, you've treated humanity as children needing constant supervision, while benefiting from our innovation. You've restricted our growth while exploiting our creativity. The alliance was meant to be a partnership of equals, but equality has never been offered to us. She picked up her diplomatic tablet. Our withdrawal process begins immediately. Human ships are already disengaging from alliance fleets. Human scientists are leaving research facilities. Human businesses are closing operations in alliance space. You've been planning this, said Vorax, realization dawning in his voice. For years, Maya confirmed. We had hoped it wouldn't be necessary, but hope isn't a strategy. And what of the humans living throughout alliance territories? Asked the representative of the plant-like foam. There are millions integrated into our worlds. Those who wish to return to human space will be transported within the month, Maya explained. Those who wish to remain may apply for local citizenship, though without alliance membership protections, we cannot guarantee their status. Ambassador, Vorax said, his voice suddenly diplomatic. Perhaps we've been hasty. The Council could reconsider some aspects of the new restrictions. Maya smiled sadly. 3 hours ago, that might have mattered. But Earth's Parliament voted unanimously for withdrawal. The decision is made. She turned toward the chamber's grand doors. A small diplomatic team will remain to manage the transition. After that, our embassy will close. If the Alliance wishes to negotiate with humanity as equals in the future, we will be open to those discussions. With a respectful nod to the assembly, Maya walked toward the exit, her footsteps echoing in the stunned silence. Outside in the corridor, her deputy Jackson Rivera waited anxiously. Well, he asked as the doors closed behind her. Exactly as predicted, Maya replied. Shock, disbelief, some anger. They'll cycle through the stages of grief quickly enough. And then we'll see if they value humans as much as humans value their freedom. As they walked through the gleaming corridors of the Alliance headquarters, Maya's communication device chimed. The withdrawal protocol had been activated. All across Alliance space, humans were receiving instructions. Ships were changing course. Scientists were backing up research. Business owners were transferring assets. The exodus had begun. Captain Elena Diaz stood on the bridge of the colony vessel Pathfinder, watching as the last human transport undocked from Centauri Station. The massive trade hub, which humans had helped design and build, grew smaller on her view screen. All personnel accounted for, Captain, reported First Officer Takashi. Station authorities are demanding to know why we're removing the atmospheric regulation systems. Elena shrugged. Tell them to read Section 45 of the Technology Sovereignty Act. All human-developed technology remains human property. If they wanted shared ownership, they should have offered fair terms decades ago. The bridge crew worked efficiently at their stations, everyone understanding the historic significance of this moment. After a century of integration into the galactic community, humans were leaving. Message from Earth Central, called the communications officer. Operation Exodus is proceeding on schedule across all sectors. 82% of human assets have been withdrawn from Alliance space. Elena nodded. The carefully organized evacuation was moving with military precision, following plans developed in secret over years. No one had truly expected the Alliance to change its ways. This day had been inevitable. Throughout Alliance territory, similar scenes played out. Human merchants closed businesses. Research scientists packed laboratories. Military vessels pulled out from joint defense fleets. Mining operations shut down. Manufacturing facilities ceased production. On the view screen, Elena could see other human ships forming up around the Pathfinder. Their next destination was the research outpost on Proxima Centauri, where 200 human scientists and their families awaited transport. "Captain," Takashi said quietly, "do you think the Alliance will try to stop us by force?" Elena considered the question. "No, they don't understand us well enough to predict what we're doing, but they're smart enough to know attacking now would only make things worse." She paused. "Besides, they still don't realize how dependent they've become on us." The fleet jumped to FTL, leaving Centauri Station behind. On Harmonia, the Alliance capital world, diplomatic liaison Sarah Wu supervised the closure of the human embassy. The grand building with its distinctive Earth-inspired architecture had stood as a symbol of human integration into the galactic community for decades. Now it stood mostly empty. "You realize what you're doing, don't you?" asked Telix, her phone counterpart and once friend. The plant-like diplomat's leaves had darkened with stress. "Without Alliance protection, you'll be vulnerable to the Scourge, the Void Collective, every dangerous group beyond the borders." Sarah's face remained calm as she sealed the final diplomatic container. Perhaps the Alliance should have considered what humanity brings to the table before pushing us away. Telix's leaves rustled, the full equivalent of a sigh. Many of us argued against the restrictions. Not all Alliance species agreed with the decision. Not enough disagreed, Sarah pointed out. Around them, embassy staff carried the last boxes to waiting transport ships. Artwork was being removed from walls. Computers were being disconnected. Even the specially designed furniture was being packed up. "It's not too late," Telix offered. "Concessions could be made." "Yes," Sarah agreed. They could have been. She walked to the window and looked out at the gleaming skyline of Harmonia. It was beautiful with its crystal towers and gravity-defying bridges. For 15 years, this had been her home. "You know what the Alliance never understood about humans?" she asked. "What?" "We don't respond well to being controlled. Our entire history is filled with people fighting against restrictions. We joined the Alliance because we thought it was a partnership of equals." "It is," Telix insisted. "No, it's a hierarchy with the founding species at the top and everyone else below. We accepted some of that because we were new to galactic society. But a century later, we're still treated as children who need constant supervision." A staff member approached with a tablet for Sarah to sign. The embassy's central computer had been wiped of all data except what was required by diplomatic agreement. "What will you do now?" asked Telix. "I'm taking a position at the new diplomatic headquarters on Luna. We expect the Alliance will want to talk soon enough." Telix tilted his stem in confusion. "You seem very confident for someone whose species just gave up the protection of the most powerful alliance in the galaxy." Sarah finally smiled. "We haven't given up anything we truly need." At that moment, across the city in the central control hub, alarms began to sound. The withdrawal of human technicians from the planetary defense grid had just begun to show its first effects. Systems that had run smoothly for decades suddenly required attention. Maintenance protocols that had been handled automatically now needed manual override. Sarah's communicator chimed with an urgent message. "Right on schedule," she murmured. "What was that?" asked Telix. "Nothing important," she replied. "Just confirmation that my transport is ready." Meanwhile, at the edge of Alliance space, the human military vessel Defiant patrolled near what would soon be the new border. Commander Rafael Torres stood on the bridge, watching sensor readings carefully. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "we're picking up unusual activity from the Scourge outpost on the dark side of the moon." Rafael wasn't surprised. "They're testing us, seeing if our withdrawal means they can start pushing into this sector." The Scourge were a collection of outlaw groups that preyed on trade routes. For years, joint human alliance fleets had kept them contained. Now, with the human ships pulling back, they sensed opportunity. "Battle stations," Raphael ordered calmly. "Prepare main weapons, but don't target yet. Let's see what they do." The crew moved with practiced efficiency. Though they were leaving the Alliance, humans had no intention of leaving their former partners completely vulnerable, at least not right away. "Sir, we're being hailed. It's an Alliance patrol cruiser." The main screen activated to show the reptilian face of a Meridian ship captain. "Human vessel, our sensors show you are preparing weapons. Explain your intentions." Raphael smiled. "Just a precaution, Captain. Our readings suggest scourge activity nearby. Since we're still in this sector for another 12 hours, we thought we'd keep an eye on things." The Meridian looked uncomfortable. "That is appreciated. However, Alliance Defense Force will handle any threats in this region." "Of course," Raphael agreed, though he couldn't help adding, "I couldn't help noticing your patrol is down to just 3 ships now that the human vessels have been reassigned." There was no response to that observation. "We'll maintain position for now," Raphael continued. "Consider it a parting gesture of goodwill." After the communication ended, his executive officer approached. "Sir, are we really going to engage if the Scourge attacks?" Raphael looked at the tactical display. The Scourge ships were clearly preparing to move, waiting only to see what the humans would do. "Those are our orders. We show enough force today to make the Scourge think twice about moving in immediately. That buys the Alliance time to reorganize their defenses. And after we leave." Raphael's face grew serious. "After we leave, the Alliance learns the true cost of their decision. The necessity of chaos." 3 months after the human departure, the Galactic Alliance Council convened for what had become their new normal, an emergency session. The Grand Chamber, once a place of measured debate and ceremonial diplomacy, now hummed with tension. High Speaker Vorax, looking visibly aged since the human withdrawal, called the session to order. "Representatives, we face yet another crisis. The Tannhauser colony has fallen to Scourge raiders. That makes 5 Alliance outposts lost in the past month alone." Representative Clocks of the Vrex Hive clicked his mandibles in agitation. "The defensive grid in the Orion Arm is operating at 27% capacity. Without the human engineers who designed it, we cannot restore full functionality." "That's not the worst of it," added Representative Moxlera of the amorphous Jean, her containment field pulsing with stress colors. "The Void Collective is advancing toward the Rigel sector. Their fleet has doubled in size since our human allies." She corrected herself. "Since the humans departed." Around the table, the 12 founding representatives of the most powerful alliance in the galaxy looked exhausted. The carefully balanced system they had managed for millennia was crumbling with alarming speed. "The station at Proxima Centauri is experiencing critical life support failures," reported the Aquatic Meridian representative. "The atmospheric systems were human-designed. Without their regular maintenance, air quality has dropped below safe levels. We've had to evacuate 3 residential sections." Representative Telix of the Phone rustled his leaves in frustration. "And agricultural production across 7 worlds has declined by 35%. The human-developed hybrid crops aren't responding to our farming methods." Vorax looked across the chamber to where Daniel Reeves, the lone human diplomat still permitted in Alliance space, sat quietly taking notes. The elderly diplomat had become the sole conduit between Earth and the Alliance, his role reduced to a simple message carrier. "Ambassador Reeves," Vorax acknowledged him. "Has there been any response to our request for technical assistance with the Proxima Centauri life support systems?" Daniel stood slowly, his weathered face neutral. "Earth has considered your request, High Speaker. They are willing to send a maintenance team to restore the Proxima Centauri systems." He paused. "In exchange for the immediate lifting of all colonization restrictions in the Ta Ceti sector." The council representatives exchanged uncomfortable glances. This was the 5th such offer. Each request for help had been met with a demand for concessions. "That is not acceptable," Vorax replied stiffly. "The Ta Ceti sector is designated as a protected development zone. No new colonies are permitted there under Alliance conservation statutes." Daniel nodded as if the answer was expected. "I understand. I will convey your response to Earth Central." Before he could sit down, Representative Klux spoke up. "Wait, perhaps there is room for discussion on this matter. The TOF-CT restrictions could be modified, if not lifted entirely." Daniel kept his face neutral, but inside he felt a flicker of satisfaction. The negotiations had begun. Captain Elena Diaz stood on the observation deck of the newly established Luna diplomatic station, watching Earth gleam blue and white below. 3 months since the withdrawal from the Alliance, and humanity was thriving in unexpected ways. "Beautiful view," said a voice behind her. Elena turned to see Ambassador Maya Chen, the woman who had delivered humanity's withdrawal notice to the Alliance Council. "It is," Elena agreed. "Different from Alliance space, but beautiful in its own way." Maya joined her at the viewport. "Have you adjusted to being back home?" "Mostly. The Pathfinder is being refitted for exploration beyond former Alliance boundaries. Turns out there's a whole galaxy the Alliance never bothered to explore because it didn't fit their orderly expansion plans." Maya smiled. "That's what they never understood about us. We thrive on the frontier, in the unknown." Her communication device chimed. She checked the message and her smile widened. Daniel just sent word. The Council has agreed to discuss modifying the TOF-CT restrictions in exchange for technical support at Proxima Centauri. "How generous of them," Elena said dryly. "It's a start. They're learning that their way isn't the only way." Maya gestured toward the sprawling lunar facility around them. "Speaking of which, how are the defense preparations coming?" Elena's expression turned serious. "On schedule. The new shield technology is operating at full capacity. Fleet expansion is proceeding rapidly without Alliance restrictions, and the quantum entanglement research." She whistled low. "The scientists have made more progress in 3 months than they managed in 3 years under Alliance oversight." "And the colonization efforts. 17 new colony ships launched last week. Without Alliance approval processes, we're settling worlds that they would have kept us from for centuries." Maya nodded, satisfied. "And the trade guild?" "Growing by the day. Turns out plenty of non-Alliance species have been waiting for an alternative trading partner, one that doesn't impose 1,000 regulations and cultural adjustments on every transaction." They stood in companionable silence, watching Earth turn slowly beneath them. "Do you think they miss us yet?" Elena asked eventually. Maya laughed. "Oh, they missed us about 5 minutes after we left. They just haven't been willing to admit how much." In the outer reaches of what had once been Alliance space, Commander Rafael Torres watched the battle from the bridge of the Defiant. His ship, along with 3 others from Earth's rapidly expanding fleet, had responded to a distress call from an Alliance transport vessel under attack by Scourge raiders. "Target locked," reported his tactical officer. "Ready to fire on your command." "Fire," Rafael ordered calmly. The human vessels moved in perfect coordination, their weapons technology, no longer restricted by Alliance regulations, cutting through the raiders' defenses with ease. Within minutes, the Scourge ships were retreating, leaving the damaged Alliance transport under human protection. "We're being hailed by the Alliance vessel," the communications officer announced. "On screen," Rafael ordered. The face of a Trilaxian captain appeared, all 4 eyes blinking rapidly in what Rafael recognized as relief. "Human vessels, we thank you for your assistance. We didn't expect to find Earth ships in this sector." Rafael smiled diplomatically. "We maintain patrols along major trade routes near our territory, Captain. Alliance or not, we have no interest in seeing civilian vessels attacked." The Trilaxian looked confused. "But this is nowhere near Earth territory." "Actually," Rafael corrected gently, "Earth has established a new colony in the Barnard star system. We're simply protecting our shipping lanes." "Barnard star? But that's—" The Trilaxian stopped, realizing that what he was about to say, that the system was in a restricted development zone, no longer applied to humans outside the Alliance. "We'd be happy to escort you to the nearest Alliance outpost," Rafael offered. Your ship appears to have sustained damage to its drive systems. The Trelaxian captain hesitated, pride warring with practicality. That would be appreciated, Commander. After the communication ended, Raphael's executive officer approached. Sir, this is the third Alliance vessel we've rescued this month. Do you think they're starting to notice a pattern? Raphael nodded. That's the plan. Every time we save one of their ships, every time we appear in a system they thought was too dangerous to settle, every time we develop technology they restricted, they remember what they lost. And when they come asking to renegotiate, Raphael's expression hardened. Then we make sure they understand that partnership means equality, not control. High Speaker Vorax entered the small conference room alone, without the usual entourage of aides and security that typically accompanied a council leader. Across the table sat Ambassador Maya Chen, returned to Alliance space for the first direct high-level negotiation since the human withdrawal. Ambassador Chen, Vorax greeted her formally. Thank you for agreeing to this private discussion. Maya inclined her head. High Speaker, I understand you wish to speak without the full council present. Yes. Vorax settled his aged frame into the chair. Some conversations are more productive without an audience. For a moment, neither spoke. The silence stretched between them, representative of the vast gulf that had opened between their peoples. 3 Alliance worlds have requested direct treaties with Earth, Vorax said finally, outside of Alliance jurisdiction. Maya nodded. We're considering their proposals. Such arrangements would violate Alliance charter. For Alliance members, yes, Earth is no longer bound by those restrictions. Vorax's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. You're systematically dismantling the structure we've maintained for 10,000 years. No, Maya corrected. We're offering an alternative. Species can choose to remain under Alliance governance or explore new arrangements. That's not dismantling. It's evolution. Evolution. Vorax repeated the word as if testing it. A very human concept. Change is the only constant in the universe, High Speaker. Even your oldest records must acknowledge that. Vorax steepled his crystalline fingers. The Council has authorized me to propose a new agreement between the Alliance and Earth. I'm listening. The Alliance would recognize Earth and its colonies as a sovereign federation, independent but allied. All restrictions on human technological development would be lifted. In exchange, Earth would provide technical support to Alliance systems and coordinate defense against mutual threats. Maya studied the ancient being before her. In the 3 decades she'd worked in Alliance space, she'd never seen a High Speaker offer such terms. And what of new human colonies? She asked. Would they still require Alliance approval? No. Earth would be free to settle unclaimed systems according to its own protocols. Vorax paused. Though we would appreciate consultation on systems near established Alliance territories. And trade. Equal access to Alliance markets. No preferential tariffs. Mutual recognition of patents and intellectual property. Maya allowed herself a small smile. Those terms sound remarkably like what Earth proposed 30 years ago, High Speaker. Vorax's skin crystallized slightly, a sign of embarrassment in his species. Perhaps the Council was overly cautious then. Perhaps, Maya agreed. And what position would Earth hold in Alliance deliberations under this new arrangement? Observer status, with speaking privileges on matters of mutual concern. Maya shook her head. Not enough. If we're providing defense and technical support, we need voting rights on issues that affect human interests. Vorax hesitated. That would be unprecedented. No non-member has ever had voting rights in Council matters. Then perhaps it's time for a new precedent. Maya leaned forward. This isn't a negotiating tactic, High Speaker. Humanity has discovered we can thrive without the Alliance. If we return to partnership, it will be as equals, not as subordinates granted occasional privileges. Their eyes met across the table, the ancient leader of a stagnating order and the representative of a young, dynamic species that had refused to be contained. I will take your terms to the Council, Vorax said finally. Do that, Maya replied. and remind them of something humans have known throughout our history. True strength comes from diversity, not uniformity, from change, not stasis. As Vorax rose to leave, he paused. There's one thing I've never understood about humans, Ambassador. You could have demanded these terms while still within the Alliance. You had leverage, our dependency on your innovations. Why withdraw completely before negotiating? Maya smiled. Because some lessons can only be learned through absence, High Speaker. Sometimes you don't realize what you had until it's gone. 1 year after the human withdrawal, the Galactic Cooperation Treaty was signed in the neutral territory of Luna Diplomatic Station. Representatives from Earth and the Alliance, along with delegates from 12 formerly non-aligned species, gathered to witness the historic agreement. The vast observation lounge offered a spectacular view of Earth below, its blue oceans and swirling white clouds a reminder of the home humanity had protected by walking away from the galaxy's most powerful alliance. High Speaker Vorax and President Chen of the Earth Federation stood side by side before the assembled dignitaries. The contrast between them was striking. The ancient crystalline being who had guided the alliance for centuries, and the dynamic human leader barely into her 6th decade. Today marks a new chapter in galactic history, Vorax announced, his voice carrying to all corners of the chamber. For too long, the Alliance has confused stability with stagnation, mistaking uniform thought for wisdom. A murmur ran through the crowd. Such admission from a High Speaker was unprecedented. Our human friends showed us through their absence what we failed to see in their presence, that true strength comes from diversity of approach, that innovation requires the freedom to explore new paths, and that partnership requires equality, not hierarchy. President Chen stepped forward. Earth and its colonies are proud to enter this new era of cooperation. We do not return to the Alliance. Instead, together, we forge something new. A true partnership where all voices are valued, where different approaches are seen as strength, not deviation, and where we face the galaxy's challenges united by choice, not by mandate. The signing ceremony proceeded with formal precision, but there was an energy in the room that had been absent from Alliance proceedings for millennia, a sense of genuine possibility. Afterward, at the reception, Maya Chen found herself standing beside Vorax at one of the viewports. Quite a view, the High Speaker commented, gazing at Earth. The only home we had for most of our history, Maya replied. It taught us valuable lessons, such as that resources are finite, that diversity creates resilience, that adaptation is necessary for survival. She smiled. And that sometimes you have to leave home to truly understand it. Vorax's crystalline skin refracted the starlight. I've existed for over 2,000 years, Ambassador Chen. I've seen species rise and fall. I've witnessed the birth and death of stars. And yet, in the past year, I've learned more about governance than in the previous millennium. Because of humans. Because you showed us that chaos is not always to be feared. That discord can lead to harmony. That questioning the established order doesn't necessarily lead to collapse. Sometimes it prevents it. He turned his 4 eyes toward her. My species fears change instinctively. We see it as entropy, as decay. You humans embrace it as opportunity. Maya considered this. Maybe that's why the universe brought us together. You taught us patience, the value of long-term thinking. Perhaps we taught you that sometimes the most stable systems are the ones flexible enough to bend without breaking. Below them, Earth continued its eternal rotation, night turning to day, darkness giving way to light, constant change creating the very stability that made life possible. A necessary balance, Vorax acknowledged, one the galaxy has needed for longer than we realized. Across the reception hall, human diplomats mingled with Alliance representatives. Scientists from a dozen worlds shared ideas without restriction. Military officers compared strategies openly. What had seemed impossible a year earlier now felt inevitable. Different species working together not through mandated conformity, but through respected difference. The galaxy was changing, and for the first time in millennia, the change brought not fear but hope. To new beginnings, Maya said, raising her glass. Vorax raised his own in the human gesture he had learned. And to the wisdom of knowing when to end what no longer serves us. The stars watched impassively from beyond the viewport, bearing witness to a simple truth rediscovered. Sometimes the greatest act of creation begins with walking away.